One of the many crossovers we have in our long-term fleet at the moment is the Subaru XV, and driving it for the past 12 months has been Associate Editor Gareth Dean. Gareth, thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome.
So tell us more in detail the car you've been driving for the past 12 months. What is it?
This is the Halo model of the XV range. Interestingly enough, in other markets, if you take off the black cladding, drop the ride height, this is their Impreza.
The hatchback.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because of the boxer configuration of the engine, lower center of gravity, etc., they developed their own platform, and if I remember correctly, it's at the cost of about $1 billion. You know, that's not small change. And also with regards to packaging, which with this car has been hit and miss, I have to say.
Okay. Well, one of the missed parts has definitely been the boot space from what I can remember.
Yeah.
Let's go and have a look at that.
Sure.
Right. Okay. So as you can see, it does go in quite deep, but it's still a very shallow boot. And I noticed it doesn't have a full-size spare, it's just a spacer saver.
Yes, you know, unfortunately with a car of this ilk, it's going to be an all-wheel drive system that's usually eating up all the space. It's a shame because the rear legroom is actually really generous. I mean, I'm 6 feet tall, I can comfortably sit behind myself. That is one sort of gripe I've got with this car, is that they haven't got that balance right, which is a real shame.
Okay, cool. So in the front as well, definitely a lot of space. Good place to sit.
Yeah, very sporty. You've got fake carbon fiber going on here.
Fake leather.
Yeah, with stitching and
genuine plastic.
But it's all very solidly put together, and it actually works. Ergonomically very sound. I mean, we're sitting on leather seats here. We've got this touchscreen infotainment system, which also has Android Auto and Apple CarPlay capability. Auto lights with adaptive high beam, auto wipers, blind spot sensors. It really is stocked.
So it's a 2-litre boxer 4-cylinder engine with a CVT. How has that been to pilot throughout the year?
To Subaru's credit, the Lineartronic system is one of the better ones. This one has 7 steps. It's reasonably responsive. There's pedal shifters here, but you still got that sort of weird, almost lagginess to acceleration when you put your foot down. The ratio to noise versus progress is a little more skewed to noise, but once you're up to speed, it's fine. This unit makes 115 kilowatts and I believe 196 Newton meters. So it's not exactly a fire breather. Okay.
Levels of comfort. It's got a very generous ride clearance, so how has that affected its ride quality?
It's 220 millimeters, which, as I said earlier, is pretty decent for a car of this type. The ride's very supple, and like I was saying earlier, the new platform feels a lot more torsionally rigid than the old one. The old car had a bit of noticeable flex to it when you went over bumps. The handling still feels typically Subaru. You've got quite noticeable body lean in the corners, but you trust the all-wheel drive system because it's got huge amounts of grip, and the steering is still meaty and direct. It still feels like quite an engaging car to drive.
Okay, so although it doesn't really push a lot of power and it's not exactly a performance car, it's still got a boxer engine. What has that been like for its fuel consumption? How's it been throughout the year?
Oh, the fuel consumption has been sitting between 8 and 9 over the 20,000 k's I've been driving, and Subaru claims around 7.3 litres to the 100. So it's been okay. Obviously, with quick overtaking maneuvers and so forth, with my daily driving, it's going to slurp away at a bit more fuel than you'd think. And the worst I've had out of this thing was 12, which was quite heavy. But that was also a lot of low speed and cut and thrust driving, and a little bit of off-roading.
Okay. Lastly, Subaru doesn't have a massive dealership network in South Africa. So what has the service experience been like with this car?
Ooh. So when I had my service, unfortunately they weren't expecting me, even though I'd phoned them. But I mean, God bless them, they did a very good job, and the dealer principal was very apologetic and ferried me to work. So it's a work in progress. I think it will get better, and thankfully not much goes wrong with Subarus. They tend to be mechanically very robust.
Okay.
My experience with it has been quite an enlightening one. I've always been a little bit cynical with regards to crossovers and what they represent, but this, to me, is what a crossover should be. It's got a little bit of ruggedness and off-road ability. It looks suitably butch. Yeah, it's a practical car. Unfortunately, the recurring thing is the boot space to rear legroom space, which, given that it's aimed at people with a very outdoorsy lifestyle who are likely to have lots of kit with them, if they've got that kit and their kids or dogs or what have you, they're going to have to pack very cleverly. But I mean, that to me is a small gripe for what's otherwise a really impressive car.